have a number of important announcements today. First, a new round of safer at home guidelines to really further relax the restrictions on areas that were too specific for the first safer at home experience. I just used the example of, we were one of the first states to open salons and haircuts. We required, rightfully so, both the person doing the haircut or nails and the person receiving it to wear a mask, and that's had a tremendous effect. There's been no cases that I'm aware of that spread at all through that way. But what that didn't take into account is there are certain procedures like facials, doing work on somebody's face, or even a shave for a man, where the person receiving it obviously can't wear a mask. And so that is something, in getting everything going, we wanted to get everything going safely, and now we can refine it. So now there's a way where, yes, the person administering it can have the right facial protection, but a person can receive a facial or a shave in a reasonably safe way. And we're trying to get back to at least some way to do all the normal things we do. Everybody knows if we go back to how we did them in January, the virus will take off immediately again. In fact, we are only just a few steps ahead of this virus here. We see some of our neighboring states, Arizona and Utah, that are moving the wrong way rather than the right way. And we will only continue to move the right way as long as Coloradans continue to be responsible, to wear masks in public, and exercise precautions, staying 6 feet away from others where they can, and for Coloradans over the age of 65 to show extraordinary precautions, enjoy being safe at home and in the great vast outdoors, and be very careful in areas where there are others. And second, we're going to lay out today the long-term sustainable framework for how we can enter the protect our neighbors phase in areas of our state that have low viral count, very little or no community transmission, and are ready to re-enter the sustainable phase, meaning the phase that is the way we have to live until there is a vaccine or cure, remaining on guard, but certainly with additional degrees of normalcy that allow for the activities that make life worth living, while we continue to work hard to stay a step or two ahead of this nefarious, tricky, and deadly foe. In terms of the new guidelines, I'm not going to walk through every detail. They are published, and I want to indicate whenever we're doing this now, we've been able to get to the point where we put them out, and then we accept public comment for several days. So these are all draft that are being out today. We hope to finalize them by the end of the week, but they are up online, and we are accepting public comments for the next few days on how we can even further refine them to make sure that people can engage in all the activities that we enjoy in a reasonably safe way. All of the rules that we are announcing today are going to go in effect by the end of this week. Residential summer camps will be able to open with 10 kids indoors, 25 kids outdoors. Summer camps have already been open for a few weeks. My daughter has really enjoyed her art camp last week with a group of 10 or less, and in a reasonably safe way. The overnight camps will now have, and the CDC issued some precautions that, and they're very consistent with the work that we're doing around those as well. Indoor events, a lot of folks really been asking questions. How can we go to conferences, receptions, museums? They already were able to open, but this is a more workable way that they can open in a reasonable way. Some have opened through what we call variances, others have opened under previous guidelines, but this is more the sustainable way that they can open. Just guidelines that are consistent with the CDC and recommend 6 feet of separation from groups at these kind of events. And also allowing for the very large facilities, right? And when rooms are very large, where you have a bigger radius, you can have up to 75 people per room, and then for rooms that are double size, up to 100 people per room anywhere in the state. So it's a way that we can get back to more normalcy. Restaurants, houses of worship, life rights, higher education. These kind of activities need a way that they can function without jeopardizing the lives of those who attend. Now, to be clear, there's a risk in all activities, and some Coloradans will choose not yet to re-engage with these activities that do put them at risk, and that is a wise course to take if you're over 65 or have a pre-existing condition. But there are others that might be averse to taking that risk of all ages, and we support that and acknowledge that. For those who choose to take that minor risk, we want to make these activities as safe as possible. And that's why it's important that people wear masks when they're in public and stay 6 feet apart from others. We cannot yield to this virus Our ongoing vigilance is what will allow us to continue to stay a few steps ahead of the virus in Colorado, and as we struggle with it nationally and internationally. Bars will be able to open up to 25% or 50 people indoors. They can have more space outdoors, of course. Many have patios. Personal services will now be able to do the few things they weren't able to do: facials, beard trimmings, lip waxing, where the client has to take off a mask as long as the worker is adequately protected. And then non-critical, the manufacturing facilities are going to be coming back with more folks too. Many of them have been back in a limited way, but we want to make sure that our manufacturing sector is fully back in a way that respects social distancing and the number of folks that are in a room at any particular time. So that really completes the Safer at Home. You can find out a lot of the details at coloradosaferathome.com. The new guidelines are open for comment for 48 hours. And these are really just dotting the I's and crossing the T's on our statewide approach on how every type of activity can occur in some way.